Viewer discretion is advised.
So, how are we going to do this show? How are we going to attempt to dig into all the back and forth banter from XFL fans and anti-XFL fans this week? Because we could tell over the last couple of days through social media and websites of the pros and cons of certain things. From quarterback play to attendance to expansion talk. It's been a very, very, very interesting couple of days. And especially seeing that we're just 2 weeks into the season. And of course, welcome to the Unhinged podcast, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Jdash, also known as Jim Renee, and my partner in crime.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is your part man, part machine, all podcaster, Carlos the Wrestling Movie Guy. Good to have you guys back. And before you pop off the top of that six-pack of anger and, dare I say, unhinged nerve, just want to remind you guys that we are sponsored by 503 Sports. If you want to get excellent XFL gear from 2001, you want to relive the glory days, or depending on how you look at it. But regardless, if you want some super cool Thunderbolts jerseys, LA Extreme jerseys, San Francisco Demon jerseys, whatever stuff you want off there, they got it. And make sure to put in Unhinged at the checkout line so you can get 10% off. Make sure to go check out XFL Newsroom for all your up-to-date XFL news. They are part of our family. We are part of their family. We can't thank them enough for helping support us. And it would be awesome if you go check them out. And you're probably on there right now. But if you're not, go check it out. And last of all, just a little bit more plugging. If you feel like helping us out financially, if you want to support us, go to anchor.com. This is where we have our podcast, and there will be an option for you to support us if you feel like it. And if not, all good. The show will continue to come out and be free. And after all that, let's get this ball rolling.
So, I know a lot of people will attend or listen or watch this podcast on various different sites and want to know what our opinions are about this week's games, what we think. Well, we know that last week happened. We saw 4 games. Yeah, of course. We know what happened. We're not going to go to each and every single freaking game and give you breakdowns and statistics of each freaking game.
Because you guys all pretty much already know that stuff as well, just as well as we do.
Yeah, and they probably went to other podcasts because they do their live reaction and they drop their podcast literally maybe an hour after the games are completed.
And good on them, you know. Good on them. They're doing their thing.
Hey,
I'm not hating.
I'm not hating either. That means they're on top of their game. And we're slacking. But, you know, sometimes certain things happen. And you just got to go with the flow.
Sometimes we get our keys locked in cars.
Yes.
Hint, hint.
Yeah.
Ask James how his weekend was.
Yeah. Just go to Walmart, end up spending about $300. That's not right. And 120 of that is to unlock a freaking key from a car. But what are the highlights of this week, in my opinion, from this past week? The XFL got 2 quarterbacks back that the XFL desperately needs back. They both performed very well on their debuts, even though a little shaky, but they did. That was both Landry Jones and Josh Johnson. And the downside is we have a prima donna in New York showing his true colors from why he imploded in Oakland when he played in the NFL. And another positive for me is St. Louis. They look like they're going to be a contender in the East, and maybe that second team in the East to make the postseason because, honestly, do you really trust New York and Tampa right now? They're dumpster fires right now. Well, New York's not a dumpster fire yet. They need to start the right quarterback, Luis Perez. Then maybe they could get back into the playoff picture. But It's a very interesting week from my point of view. I don't know what you thought. I know your defenders won. Yay.
And how? I definitely have 4 takeaways, one for each game. Maybe that's what I'll just do from here on out. For one, DC Defenders, first game of the day against the Guardians, completely blanked the Guardians. Like, it wasn't even close. Like, it should have been an even higher score. But my biggest takeaway from that is that I'd say right now the best well-rounded team in the XFL is clearly the Defenders. For those of you who got pitchforks from Houston yelling, "What the hell? What are you talking about? That's not possible. Look at us. Y'all are excellent." I would say that the Houston Roughnecks are the most entertaining team in the league, the most offensively gifted team in the league. However, that defense needs some work. But I digress. Back to the Defenders. I feel that their defense is red hot right now. They made a great trade that at first I didn't really agree with. I wasn't sure I wanted to give up a corner that had received a pick 6 in week 1 for Anthony Johnson, who may or may not be damaged goods due to his, I don't know if implosion is the right word, but just for the way that things broke off in LA. But of course, that wasn't really his fault. The situation was looking very dire, and he wanted out. He felt betrayed with the firing of Pepper Johnson. So I just thought maybe that could go bad. I was proven wrong. The defense is even better now. 27-0, best well-rounded team in the league. Week 2, Dragons and Vipers. Hell of a game. The score may not reflect that, but I enjoyed the hell out of it. The Vipers have a pulse. They're not as bad as everybody thinks. I think that they could definitely claw their way back, but the Dragons played excellent. They were very good. They were solid. Could have done more to win in a less close fashion, but man, they did some amazing stuff on defense. The Renegades. Is Landry Jones overrated? I got questions about that. I remember last week we were discussing that, and I was like, well, you can overhype things, and sometimes it blows up in your face. And he got better, slow start, but he didn't really overall impress me, like, to the moon. But he definitely had some nice throws. He was able to make some reads when he started to get more comfortable. But is Landry Jones possibly overrated? That's my third takeaway. And finally, number 4, I got to steal yours. Battlehawks look damn good. They look excellent. I didn't expect them to beat Houston. I thought it was probably going to be a blowout. Well, maybe not a blowout, but, like a 35-18 kind of game. No, they fought. The throwing Samoan is playing a lot better. One of those picks was not really his fault. And then the other one that he thought was a free play, when there was clearly a guy off sides on the defense, and he threw that interception that should have been brought back. That wasn't really his fault, but I really like the direction that the Battlehawks are going, and that's definitely one of my big takeaways from this weekend. What else should we add to this stew?
You said that the Battlehawks beat Houston.
No, I said I didn't expect them to beat Houston.
Oh, okay.
I expected it to be like a 35-18 game. Houston, because, come on. Look at the offensive firepower they have going on. They have fireworks on the field.
Oh.
So, if I misspoke, my bad, but I think you know what I meant.
No, yeah, I know.
Sometimes.
I know what you meant. I just mainly just
wanted to poke me.
Yeah, because I thought you said it wrong. Oh, well, it happens. We're humans. But what are we going to get into? It's pretty simply the overall, if you watch the product of the XFL, one thing that we've been seeing is that the XFL has gotten into players' faces during the games for interviews, scoring plays, interceptions, or turnovers, big plays, and halftime interviews, of course. But one fool made himself look like a complete ass Saturday afternoon in D.C. was quarterback Matt McGloin. So much that he sucked so bad that he blamed the whole entire team for the reason why he is sucking. First off, let me rewind this back, ladies and gentlemen, months ago, when the 600,000 plus XFL followers on Twitter were around roughly about, give or take, maybe 80,000. This is before when the quarterbacks were assigned to the XFL. And a lot of us here at Newsroom and of course, the News Hub and the XFL board and the mothership, they had ideas of who the assigned quarterbacks were going to be. Matt McGloin was one of those quarterbacks that was surprisingly didn't really budge that meter.
He was highly touted for some odd reason, though.
Yeah, but out of the 8 starting quarterbacks so far, I would have expected probably not Matt McGloin, but either Jordan Ta'amu or Brandon Silvers or Josh Johnson, but because Josh Johnson missed the first week, to be the first ones to blow up because of their teams not performing well. But I understand quarterbacks having bad, offensive drop plays or offensive possessions or a bad game, but blaming your whole team, saying that you need to have a complete off-season makeover during halftime, which is 10 minutes, may I add, is a sign that you're no leader, you're a front runner, and sometimes front runners usually have talent. You're not good at a quarterback. I don't care if we're going to get Guardian fans that message us and say you don't know what you're talking about. How many of you are listening to this podcast right now ever heard of Matt McGloin until he was assigned with the Guardians? Unless you're a diehard NFL fan or unfortunately a very depressed Raider fan, you remember Matt McGloin.
Dude, I didn't remember. I didn't even know who the hell he was. I'll raise my hand. I'll be totally honest. I had no clue who this guy was.
Exactly. Like, people know Cardell Jones. Big name. Because he's Ohio State. Ohio State's a big university. People know Connor Cook. People down south will know Jordan Ta'amu because of Ole Miss. And if you watch the AAF last year, you'll know Brandon Silvers. So we have quarterbacks in this league that have names that a lot of fans who follow spring league football remember or follow football itself. But showing your ass on live TV in front of a very disappointing TV rating audience, we'll get to that later, maybe later in the week. But a quarterback that shows his ass, throwing his whole team under the bus, only means one thing. You throw your offensive line under a bus for your shitty play, or your offense for your shitty play, like throwing the ball to Matt Elam in a deep fade route with 2 DBs covering the same one receiver and the deep safety, that's not the offensive line's fault. That's you throwing it up for a grab. Or for a grab, really. Throwing up to for grabs, basically. I just literally said that. But anyways, that's a sign of a terrible quarterback. And that goes to the narrative of the side chick of NBC getting pissy over the last couple of weeks about quarterback play. But Matt McGloin is a symbol of last week he had a decent game and he's like, oh, it's awesome. I'm playing a football game. I really enjoy it. I love this sport, love this team, to blow everything up. Let's change everything else in halftime because you're getting beat by a defensive line in DC who's pretty dominant this year so far in the XFL perspective. But showing your ass like that, dude, who are you? You are a meaningless, not meaningless. I can't be that harsh on the dude. Yeah, I can't be that harsh. You're a walk-on from Penn State that got lucky to get a starting job, and your biggest game was against University of Florida, which you threw 6 interceptions. You were on undrafted free agent, and you went to Oakland, and you shitted the bed again. Now you're in New York, and you're shitting the bed again. It's not the players around you. It's you. You're a below average quarterback, slightly above a trash can.
You talk about not being cruel. God damn.
That's not being harsh. That's being factual. yes, week 1 was impressive. You made me go, man, you're a pretty decent quarterback. Then I looked at some of your highlights in Penn State. Then I looked at some of your highlights when you're in Oakland. And then I saw your game against New York, and it's the same problems that keep appearing.
Yeah, the numbers definitely reflect this. 8 of 19 for 44 yards, a measly 2.3 yards per pass, and 2 interceptions for a 10.1 rating. Wow. You really got to dig deep into your Ryan Leaf bag to pull out a rating like that.
Yeah.
Like, that is absolutely horrendous. And I don't mean the one guy like ill will and whatnot, but I do agree that he opened up his mouth in the worst possible way. Like, the way that Josh Johnson has been handling himself anytime he talks to the media during a game is absolutely perfect. Like, you could see the frustration on his face.
And Landry Jones.
Yeah, you could see it, but they handle themselves like professionals.
And that is one thing. Both of them.
The only positive that I take out of this whole Matt McGloin thing is that from a Crash TV entertainment perspective, I enjoyed seeing him like get mad, not because like I was rooting against him or anything, although he was playing against the the defenders. That's my squad. But I just think it's more entertaining for myself and the audience when you see those kind of meltdowns, because look, like it or not, when you say you hate to see a train wreck, you still sit there and you watch the train wreck. It's entertainment. So I like that aspect of it. I was like, whoa, that's something you never see in the NFL. Now, it blew up in his face and it's a bad look on his part, but as far as the entertainment aspect of the XFL goes, that's a big plus, and I enjoyed that. But man, he's got a lot of work to do, and he needs to be grateful for the opportunity he has been given.
The thing is like, I understand if it was, let's say, Peyton Manning throwing his offensive line under the bus in his prime when he's throwing for at least 200 yards a game, but he's still getting killed.
We got our idiot kicker getting liquored up and running his mouth.
Yeah.
That was a great moment. But continue.
But I understand, because we see in the NFL and we see in college football, good quarterbacks that are having hell of a games are spending a lot of time on their ass, and they complain they blow up and go and they throw their offensive line under the bus, or they throw the receivers under the bus because they're dropping open passes that are not the fault of the quarterback. And usually when you get to that level of football, like quarterbacks like Patrick Mahomes, NFL type of quarterbacks, elite quarterbacks, they usually take blame when they play terrible. That is the difference between a very good professional quarterback and a person that knows where he is in the landscapes of his performance. That means, okay, I'm going to go fail my driving test, and I'm going to blame it on the steering wheel.
Well, theoretically, that is possible that could happen. But I get what you mean. You don't blow your top like that. You don't say the coaching sucks. We need to change the whole game plan from the ground up. We got to get this and that and that fixed. No, you say, no, I lead this team. I am the leader. I am the captain. This is on me. Let's fix this.
True. But also you can go all the way back to when New York made a trade for Luis Perez. There could be actually a reason why they traded him and get him there in New York.
Because they anticipated this.
They anticipated this, or dang it, I just forgot the guy's name.
Matt McGloin.
Matt McGloin. I almost said Matt McGuire. I have no idea where that freaking name's going to come from.
McGuire, show me the money.
Matt McGloin must have either showed this in practice, or Kevin Gilbride is seeing it, and they made a trade for Luis Perez because he's not even number 2 yet. So he was number 3 on the depth chart week 1 and number 3 last week. So I won't be surprised if he's number 2 on the depth chart this week, or may even get the nod as a starting quarterback if their situation is getting worse. If Matt McGloin has this type of performance again, or these antics again, which I kind of expect when they go to St. Louis, that's going to be an entertaining game. But throwing your team under the bus like he did on live television, just tells the team that he's better than you, and technically he's not better than you. You're all in this together. This is the XFL. And one thing you don't want to be, if you're a quarterback trying to prove yourself to NFL scouts and NFL coaches, you don't want your team to give up on you because they'll allow that defensive end to seep past the block, or they'll forget a snap count and you get an extra hit from a D tackle or DN or a linebacker. It happens. Offensive linemen do oopsies when the quarterback yells at him for something that's not the offensive line's fault. Trust me, I know. I played football. I kind of did it when I was in high school to our quarterback. He was a douchebag. But it happens in professional sports. All I'm just going to say is, Matt McGloin, you have just now become not really a heel. I can't say he's a heel now, but they were, week 1 and week 2, they were pumping this guy up to be, the good story, the go-to story of the XFL, the guy rejuvenating his career, and then he does this at halftime. It's like the epic Vince McMahon's the guy in the cape type of gif where, he's all this, he's changed his career, and bam, he's actually a douchebag / heel that we've seen over the last 5 years.
Well, that actually is right there a perfect heel turn.
Exactly.
You just basically defined a number of turns in the history of wrestling.
But I'm gonna say this. I just need to know how I made a comment earlier, just about slightly above a trash can. If he was in a better position, like if he was 12 for 14 for 117 yards and a touchdown and maybe an interception, and he's doing all he can do, but the defenders are still stopping him. They gave up a touchdown or something like that, and the game's not what it was like it was Saturday, and he did this kind of blowout. I'll have more sympathy for the guy. It's like, yeah, he has a point. Look at what he's doing. And his players are dropping passes or missing blocks. I understand that. But if you're getting completely dominated by the Guardians and you looking like a pack of shit doing it, you have no right to call out your teammates for your performance. Because you, sir, are garbage.
Well, actually, that kind of, I think, brings us to our next segment, because do people have the right to call the XFL out on bad quarterback play overall? That has been a bit of a running theme this week. People seem to be, a lot of anti-XFL folks are looking for little areas that are bleeding and try to go after them like sharks in the middle of an ocean.
That's true.
And honestly, I think that quarterback play could very well be a big concern for the XFL. Now, I don't think that the ratings are going to be dropping drastically anytime soon, but I do think that is a problem later down the road, because right now we've got like 3 pretty damn solid quarterbacks. You got Mr. PJ, who's on a planet of his own. PJ Walker's just killing it, throwing Simone Tumamu and Cardell Jones. They're playing excellent, but who else do we have in the XFL? If there's one thing that has rung true throughout the history of the NFL, or, well, any football league, is what's your name brand? Who are your players? Quarterbacks are always the most popular, and they are pretty much the faces of your league. Joe Montana's, Johnny Unitas's, Roger Staubach's, Troy Aikman, Elway, like all these guys. Like when you think NFL, those are the faces that come to mind. We got 3 guys in the XFL, and personally, I am getting a little bit concerned about that. Now, I'm still going to watch football because I watch a lot of football, so I know that quarterback play isn't the only defining feature of football. It's whether or not it's good football, and it doesn't necessarily need to revolve around a quarterback. Like, I enjoyed the Patriots and Rams Super Bowl, 14-7. So many people hated it. I loved the hell out of it. It kept me on pins and needles. Like, I was at the edge of my seat, like, who's going to break out? Who's going to get the score to win? Like, I love stuff like that. I didn't need huge, great quarterback play. But overall, for the XFL survival, I think that the quarterback play really needs to get stepped up. Do you think they can change the rules a little bit, maybe, to try to fix that? Or maybe teams are going to just have better talent on their bench? What do you think, man?
Um, Actually, I'm going to be one of these guys who is not going to be the torchbearer of the website that started this article, which is what our title of our episode is about. NBA or NBC side chick is getting salty, which, if people do know who that side chick is, it's Pro Football Talk. Pro Football Talk is basically NBC Sports' version of a football show. They are connected. They, they say what they say about certain professional sports, especially football, because NBC wants to keep their nose in the field. And we should remember back in 2001, our fearless leader, Vince McMahon, started the XFL with a partnership with who?
NBC.
Who owns who? Pro Football Talk. So, with tweets like bad quarterback play is a problem for the XFL, and the image of it is Matt McGloin getting sacked. Well, we do know that Cardell Jones is the face of the league, and he's been playing very well. We do know Philip Walker is playing insanely well.
Actually, I would say the Walker is really the face of the league. As much as I love Cardell, I mean, Walker's got 7 touchdowns already.
Yeah. And Jordan Tiamu showed what he can be in the league from last year. But those are 3 guys out of an 8-team league. Now, you get all the questions about bad quarterback play coming in the league. And they pointed out in this article Landry Jones and Josh Johnson's performances. Do these freaking idiots know that this is their first game back onto their rosters? Josh Johnson made Los Angeles look like a completely different team. His positively, wow, I'm starting to sound like a WWE superstar. His positive...
Hey, watch it.
Yeah, his positive attitude and always motivating his teammates on live TV shows me that the LA team is going to play harder with Josh Johnson under center. Landry Jones, yes, struggled early in the game, but performed very well. In the first game he played, he only threw for 305 yards his first game. That's the most yards passed by a quarterback in the XFL in the game yet this year. He struggled early, but he's going to find his way. If those top 5 quarterbacks, Landry Jones, Josh Johnson, Jordan Tiamu, Walker, and Cardell Jones, keep performing like they're doing, even from the first games between Jones and Johnson, the XFL will have 5 decent quarterbacks. The other 3 quarterbacks will be questions, because I think that the true starting quarterback who will put a good image on the league is on the bench in New York, Luis Perez. Aaron Murray, Tampa situation, they just don't have any quarterbacks there. That's an issue down there. And Brandon Silvers is just being Brandon Silvers. He's being average. So my MVP pick of this year is out the window.
That was fast. That escalated quickly.
But is quarterback issue really the problem here? Or is Pro Football Talk really just digging up storylines, making up clickbait to cause ruckus in the XFL community? And they have done that very well. I usually don't go after big-time websites because, of course, they have a blue check mark. They're verified. But a lot of us here that follow the XFL have seen their negative tweets over the last month or so. They've been digging up about how ratings are bad, how the ratings have dropped, how the attendance in games has dropped. They said in one of their tweets, which is very, 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 my opinion, stupid. I gotta find the tweet here. Saying that the XFL should go after quarterbacks like Colin Kaepernick, Johnny Manziel, Tim Tebow. They get big names in the league. How many times have we XFL fans or people who have covered this league for 2 years have said The XFL is not going to touch Colin Kaepernick because Colin Kaepernick wants $25 million minimum. The XFL is not going to go over Johnny Manziel because they don't believe in his character issues. It's not his ability as a player; it's his character issues that they're worried about. And they have and still have been talking to Tim Tebow. That's been reported by the newsroom for a couple months now. And Tebow just wants to do baseball. Now, if Tebow wasn't with the New York Mets Minor League Association, he will be in the XFL, and Pro Football Talk will be all over him, like kissing him everywhere. So, oh, Tim Tebow. Then you get Pro Football Talk with their, smart people saying, "I really want to like the XFL. I'm trying to like the XFL, but I currently have some same problem I had in the USFL back in 1983. It's hard to care about football when it's no football season." Whoever wrote that tweet remembers the USFL in 1983, so technically that individual is either in his late 40s or early 50s. Or can it be very rare, late 30s?
Well, not to like age discriminate or anything. It's still though, like at the end of the day, like if you're feeling that way, you don't necessarily like really have to cover it. So if you don't care about it, why are you covering it? Why are you talking about it? I really want to love it. That's so stupid. Either you do or you don't. Just be honest.
What aggravates the fuck out of me is you go right in this tweet right here. The DC's Defenders saw a 12.4% attendance drop in week 1 to week 2. Hey, assholes, did you know it was also 30 degrees colder the following weekend than it was opening weekend? It was 56?
It was cold. It was cold as balls, and I had work, so I couldn't be there.
Yeah, it was 56 opening weekend, and then it was like 34 with a wind chill of 29, and 15,000 people showed up. That's a hell of a crowd. So with negative articles like this, then on the same day, there go, with more than 29,000 people showing up in Seattle, XFL sees a 9.5% bump in attendance from week 1 to week 2. Exactly 2 hours after they posted the XFL Defenders attendance decreasing. So what are the actual numbers from the XFL from week 1 to week 2 in attendance? What are the actual numbers? The XFL, 8,000 more fans attended XFL games in week 2 than in week 1. Yeah, it's because of Seattle. What have we heard from Pro Football Talk and NBC, Ebersol's people, ever since their glorious AAF fell to the ground, burned to ash? What they were saying? Well, Orlando and San Antonio, where they average about 30,000 people. Well, brace yourselves, AAF humpers and Charlie Ebersol and Pro Football Talk. The city that the XFL has been waiting for to host a game will have their chance this weekend. And from all indications, they are either going to be at 30,000 or above 30,000. So there is the XFL's version of San Antonio. We already have our version of Orlando, and that's Seattle. So the negative ads, especially the one that came out yesterday about ABC XFL ratings dip from week 1 to week 2. In week 1, it was like 3.9 million to 4 million people saw the XFL game. It went down to 2.9 or 2.4. 2.4, it peaked at 2.9, was 2.4. So it did.
Actually, it did peak at around 3.1, actually. And on top of that, the one thing that they failed to mention is that one of those games was on Fox Sports 1. So that was around 1.9 million a peak at that one.
Oh, yeah.
So you were going to have a dip anyway. That's always going to happen. Anytime you have a new TV show debut, there's going to be a dip. WWE, when it debuted on Fox, had about 5 million watchers, and it has gone down to around 3.2. Guess what? It's still number 1 in the demographic on Friday between 18 and 49, and it's still the number 1 rated show on Fridays. So for them to completely dismiss that and not actually say, well, you were supposed to expect the numbers to drop, and not even bother to mention, oh yeah, one of those shows, one of the games was on Fox Sports 1, which not every single person has that channel in their house. Like they didn't even account for that. So it's like, do your homework and stop talking shit.
Yeah, it's very sad where they say that the XFL dipped ratings from week 1 to week 2, but I found a tweet from last year, which you can find it on Unhinged Podcast, where Pro Football Talk praised the TV ratings of the AAF when they went 2.9 million debuted on CBS primetime, Orlando and Atlanta and the San Antonio. I think it was San Diego's the first week. And then the second week came, and their ratings went from 2.9 million to 500,000 people per channel. And that article is saying that football season can last longer. The AAF has proven it. But yet, you come to this week, and it's the XFL ratings fall. Well, Pro Football Talk, at least the XFL is still in the millions. The AAF went from millions to 200,000, 400,000 within a week. Because here's the thing. The XFL is a brand. It's always been a brand. People remember it from 2001. And people took the AAF as a, oh, this is a wannabe XFL league. Let's just test it. And basically, it was Charlie Ebersol and his son trying to stab back at Vince McMahon.
Well, Dick Ebersol. His son is Charlie.
Yeah, Charlie. Yeah, whatever. The Ebersols. They were trying to get back at McMahon, and McMahon's like, well, thank you for showing us what not to do. We appreciate it. But if you look at the overall average of it throughout this game so far through week 2, the XFL is averaging roughly about 2.8 million people per game viewing the game. That's if you get all the games additions, divided by 8, whatever. The AAF was averaging like 800,000, but that was because all the big viewership in week 1. Let's see what the XFL does in week 4 compared to the AAF. Because in week 4 in attendance in the AAF, the average crowd size was 9,000 people in week 4. In week 4 in the XFL, the St. Louis Battlehawks, the Guardians, the Renegades, and the Vipers host all games. So the attendance may drop a little bit, but I think the Battlehawks 30,000 will help that number a lot because in week 4, only 38,000 people showed up to AAF games. And the ratings in that week were god-awful. 0.10, 0.20, and Bleacher Report forgot to report their ratings. So, Pro Football Talk. I know you guys, I respect you guys in the NFL realm. You guys do a hell of a work in the NFL, and you guys are very professional in that scheme. But stop acting like a bunch of baby back bitches because the XFL is not a part of the NBC. You guys are whining and crying, making clickbait articles to show that you still think that you know what you're talking about in the XFL. Go talk about where Philip Rivers is going to have his 12th or 13th kid. That's what you guys are good at. Not saying that they're investigating that, but they're good in the NFL. That's their job. There are websites in the XFL, including XFLnewsroom.com, our competitor, XFL News Hub, that cover the XFL over the last 2 years, that you get better information, accurate information, and we compared it with the predecessor, which was the AAF. If you talk to an average XFL fan, you told them how many fans you think LA is going to draw in week 1, based off of what we've seen throughout the first 2 years of the promotion of the team. A lot of us XFL guys are like, well, we'll be stunned if they get either like 10,000 people in that stadium. Well, my prediction last week, I said they'll get about 7 people. Well, they blew that out of the water. They got around almost 15,000 people in LA last week. Yeah, the Defenders dropped because of the cold weather. So you're telling me that averaging 19,000 people for a week of games is talking about attendance dropping, and that the ratings that are still in the millions that outdrew a lot of other shows including in St. Louis, the St. Louis Blues game, and also outdrawing other sporting events
The
like
NBA.
the NBA. And yes, well, the article about Sundays is like it took a big hit on Fox Sports 1. No shit, because the Daytona 500 was going on. And that's a big draw. The Daytona 500 averages 13 million viewers every freaking year. Some sports fans are going to turn to NASCAR because NASCAR, I heard, you can bet on NASCAR just like you can bet on the XFL. And there's more money in NASCAR, especially the Daytona 500. So, Pro Football Talk, do yourself a favor. Find some XFL experts. I'll happily apply to help you guys out here to talk about the league as it should be. Stop trying to, pull out your chest like you're freaking, what you're doing, and report on some information and news that can benefit the spring league. Because you know damn well, and like every other sports league here knows, or especially in the football realm, a spring football league is good for football because we'll see up-and-coming stars in the XFL that will make it to NFL rosters and turn out to be, Rod Smarts, Chris Avery, Tommy Maddox, those players. Stop shitting on the league because your baby from last year, that god-awful double-A style football, which was the AAF, failed. Because, I don't know, maybe because you guys didn't have money to spend the players, and last time I checked, all the bills have been paid so far for the XFL, and it looks like the lie that you've told a lot of people a couple weeks ago about Vince McMahon's going to lose about $300 million this year, or with the XFL, is starting to sound like it's going to be a bunch of hogwash because apparently he's going to be making some good money here pretty soon with the Bud Light Seltzer advertisement. So, yeah, Pro Football Talk, do yourself a favor and shut the hell up about the XFL and cover the NFL. You got the combine to get ready. You got to go start studying guys in their underwear doing 40s. Go do that. That's what Pro Football Talk should be doing from now on, especially during spring.
Woo! All right. Now, you got that stress ball next to you? You're going to start squeezing that? You go,
Yeah, not really.
Breathe in, breathe out. God damn. The anger. I mean, I knew that I was bad, but I don't think I really have anything to add there because you just threw it all out there. Just threw it all on the wall and see what sticks. I like it. I agree. They need to do their homework. They need to actually stop being so biased. And you got to wonder if maybe the Eversols are talking to those at NBC like, hey, we used to run this show. You want to do us a solid and maybe take a few pop shots at this league, maybe drag them down with us? Oh, man. Dude, we got through a lot today. And I think we're going to have to save the rest for the next episode. What do you think, man?
Yeah, that it's, you can, for everybody who wants to see what we're talking about, just go look at Pro Football Talk /XFL on their Twitter, and you can see all the garbage they are posting. It's freaking ridiculous. But besides from that, we can, we'll touch that up later because we got double shows this week that we're going to be dropping here. We'll just continue that subject to the next thing. So, from myself, Jdash, and Carlos,
wait, hold up. We still got a plug. I know. Got to do it, We got to do it, remember?
I was going to do the plug, but okay.
Oh, but I love doing it, man. I enjoy it so much. Remember, guys, if you want some cool XFL gear, old school XFL gear, make sure to go to 503 Sports. Put in Unhinged in that checkout line. Get yourself a cool 10% off. Go follow us on Twitter at XFL Unhinged. LRN, I believe, XFLRN Unhinged, at XFL Newsroom, at Wrestling Movie G. And if you want to throw us a couple of bucks, help support this show, go to Anchor, go check out our podcast on there. It'll be a little option for you to donate and support the show if you want to do that. We'd most appreciate it. If not, as I said before, the show will continue to be free. And maybe I'll let James do the promo on the next one. Maybe.
But
But on my end, I'll catch you later, guys. Close it on out, James.
Closing out when I want to close out. Remember, go check XFL Newsroom out. Check all the other podcasts. This is the XFL podcast. Patron Hawkins. This week in the XFL with the ref, the guard post, Radio Strike Viper Nation. Go check out XFL Newsroom. A lot of great podcasts, and of course us and Unhinged. We'll drop one later in the week. Hopefully, you guys enjoy week 2. Go dig up some more information about pro football talk and. You've been warned. So see you guys later. And yeah, we'll call this episode a adieu. So don't get too salty, NBA NBC's side chick. I always want to say NBA, but anyways, yeah, they're still pissed about the NBA too. Suck it, NBC. Talk to you guys later.
Peace.